Filipino is said to be heroines who changed Philippine history or the Filipino who has exemplary works or has the biggest contribution in the society. One of the prominent Filipino who comes to mind is of course Dr. Rizal. Rizal is one of our national heroes who used pluma to awaken the Filipino against the conquerors. There is also Andres Bonifacio, Emilio Aguinaldo, and Emilio Jacinto. Most recently, Antonio Luna's heroism is believed because of the recent film about his life. Teresa Magbanua, known as the Visayan Joan of Arc, Teresa Magbanua was originally a teacher who received a degree in education from a school in Manila. She married a wealthy businessman who owned large plots of land, which she helped cultivate. During this time, she developed her skills, horseback riding, and marksmanship. Upon learning that her brothers joined the uprising against the Spaniards, she persuaded her uncle, General Perfecto Poblador, to let her join the Katipunan's women chapters in Panay as an experienced horse rider and marksman. The general agreed, making Magbanua the first and only woman to lead troops in the Visayas during the Revolution. Her patriotic spirit helped her successfully lead a group of Bolo troops during the Battle of Pariyuting and Battle of Sapong Hills, which were instrumental to the liberation of Iloilo City. Later on, she joined the guerrilla forces and fighting against the Americans in Charo, Iloilo. She continued to fight for the country's independence until the Japanese occupation, when she sold her belongings to help fund the guerrilla movement. Lydia Magbanua is one of the few who fought for the Philippines against all the country's main aggressors, Spain, the United States, and Japan. Josepha Llanes Escoda features a smiling face clad in Filipiniana outfit. Escoda is one of the two women to appear on the current series of Philippine peso notes. This honor does not go without merit, as she was certified social worker, suffragette, civic leader, and war heroine. As the eldest of 7 children, she had to help her mother take care of her siblings after the death of her father in 1918, all while studying to obtain a high school teacher certificate from the University of the Philippines. Escoda went to the United States several times to further help with her social work. After graduating, she trained as a social worker at the New York School of Social Work. During that stay, she also represented the Philippines in speaking engagements in the International House and the Women's International League for Peace. The second visit to the U.S., which was meant for Boy Scout training, she used to train young women teachers from the public and private sectors to become Girl Scout leaders. When World War II broke out, Escoda's involvement in aiding prisoners of war and stranded women and children led to her arrest, torture, and eventual execution at the hands of the Japanese. Trivia: as an active member of the suffrage movement of the Philippines, Josepha Llanes Escoda was quoted as saying that the modern woman is no longer the wife that clings. She now helps the husband. The woman's demand for independence is motivated by their desire to help their husband in governmental affairs, which always required the moderation and wisdom of women. Gabriela Silang. Gabriela Silang is perhaps the most well-known among all the Filipino heroines, but she is almost always mentioned in tandem with her husband Diego. Since their achievements are usually written about together, many forget that she had her own fair share of heroic acts. As the first Filipina to lead an uprising against a foreign power, Silang was a fearless Ilocana warrior who assumed her husband's role as a commander of tribal troops after his assassination in 1763. She rallied fighting forces, including the native Ineg people, to carry on the wars against Spain in their home province of Ilocos, launching guerrilla attacks against the Spanish garrison, attacks that caused Spanish soldiers to fear her name. For her final battles at the liberation of Vigan, she led over 2,000 men to go against an army of over 6,000 Spanish soldiers backed by powerful artillery. The battle proved unsuccessful for the general, so she and 80 remaining troops retreated to unexplored regions of Abra, where they were eventually captured. The Spanish made her witness the public executions of her men before publicly hanging the general herself in September 1763. Despite the loss, Gabriela Silang is still recognized for her immense courage in fighting for the independence of Ilocos. Trivia: Gabriela Silang was widowed twice in her lifetime. At 20, she was forced to marry a wealthy old man who passed away after 3 years. It was after his death that she met Diego Silang, who was a mail carrier at that time.
Magdalena Leones, 1921 to 2016. Having passed away only last year, Magdalena Leones remains to be one of the lesser-known World War II veterans, even though she is the only Asian woman to have been awarded the Silver Star in World War II by the United States. Born in the mountains of Kalinga, Leones was the daughter of an evangelical missionary. Since she refused to surrender after the fall of Bataan, she was imprisoned for 5 months. During this time, she taught herself how to speak Nipongo, a skill she utilized to help save the lives of other Filipinos captured by the Japanese. After encountering Colonel Russell Workman of the United States Armed Forces in the Philippines, North Luzon, she agreed to serve as a special agent. Using her church connections and her Nipongo speaking skills, she was able to carry important intelligence data, vital radio parts, and medical supplies through Japanese-held territory. Though she knew the capture could result in torture and execution, she powered through and continued to serve her country, earning her the moniker of the Leones of Filipino guerrilla agents. Magdalena Leones was caught several times, but was able to escape each time due to her wits and sweet talk. The biography of Melchora Aquino. Melchora Aquino begins with her early life. Melchora Aquino was born on January 6, 1812. Her full given name at birth was Melchora Aquino de Ramos. Melchora was the only daughter of Juan and Valentina Aquino, who were a peasant couple living in Caloocan. Melchora was noticed literate and highly intelligent at a very early age, even though she was never afforded the opportunity to go to school. In addition to her intelligence, Melchora was also a very talented singer who performed at local events. She also known for singing at Mass when she attended church. Melchora, marriage, and the family. When she became an adult, Melchora married a village chief by the name of Fulgencio Ramos. Together, Melchora and Fulgencio had 6 children. However, by the time the youngest of the 6 children was just 7 years of age, Fulgencio passed away. This left Melchora to raise the 6 children on her own. In order to make ends meet, Melchora opened her own store to support her family. Aquino and the Philippine Revolution. In 1896, the Philippine Revolution began as the Spaniards invaded the Philippines and attempted to take it for themselves. At the time, Melchora was 84 years of age. She used her store as a means to provide medical care to the soldiers who were fighting in the war. She not only provided them medical care, but she also provided them encouragement through prayers. Her store was also used for secret meetings. Due to her behind-the-scenes heroics during the revolutions, she became known as Mother of the Katipunan, which was the Philippine word for revolution. She also became known to many of the Philippine revolutionary soldiers as Tandang Sora. When the Spaniards learned that she was providing this medical care and encouragement to their enemies, they arrested Melchora and questioned her on where they might find the Katipunan leader Andres Bonifacio. Melchora refused to tell the Spaniards anything, and for that she was deported to the Mariana Islands. When the United States took control of the Philippines in 1898, Aquino was permitted to return to her home and store. Antonio Luna was a Filipino scientist and soldier who lived in the late 19th century. His name is recognized primarily as the hot-tempered general who fought against the United States in the Spanish-American War and was eventually assassinated by, by his own soldiers, but he was also widely recognized in the scientifically community for his research of contagious diseases. His efforts to free the Philippines from American rule and his pharmaceutical and environmental science findings both left their mark on his country. Antonio Luna early life. Understanding Luna's later life and accomplishment can be helped by learning about his early life and his education. The youngest of 7 children, Luna was born in Binondo, the commercial district of Manila, on October 29, 1866. He possessed strong skills in chemistry and other sciences and in 1881 earned a Bachelor of Arts degree from the Ateneo Municipal de Manila. His college Jesuit teachers recognized his aptitude in chemistry and encouraged him to study it further. He did study it, along with literature, at the University of Santo Tomas, where his essay entitled Dos Cuerpos Fundamentales de la Química, Two Fundamental Bodies of Chemistry, won first prize in a competition. At the University of Santo Tomas, Luna also studied music, military science, and marksmanship. Growing up and moving around, in 1886, Luna moved to Madrid, where he earned a licentiate in pharmacy. He went on to earn a doctorate in pharmacy in 1890, and his doctoral examiners said he did extremely well. His 1893 doctoral thesis on malaria, entitled El Hematozoaria del Paludismo, was favorably recognized by both physicians and medical scientists. After completing his doctorate, Luna moved on to Paris, where he researched bacteriology and histology at the Pasteur Institute and later to Belgium, where he studied medical chemistry. José Rizal, in full José Prostacio Rizal Mercado y Alonso Rialonda, born June 19, 1861, in Calamba, Philippines. Died in December 30, 1896 at Manila. Patriot, physician, and man of letters who was an inspiration to the Philippine nationalist movement. The son of a prosperous landowner, Rizal was educated in Manila and at the University of Madrid. A brilliant medical student, he soon committed himself to the reform of Spanish rule in his home country. Though he never advocated Philippine independence, most of his writing was done in Europe, where he resided between 1882 and 1892. In 1887, Rizal published his first novel, No Limitangere, The Social Cancer, a passionate exposure of the evils of Spanish rule in the Philippines. A sequel, Il Filibusterismo, 1891, The Reign of Greed, established his reputation as the leading spokesman of the Philippine Reform Movement. He published an annotated edition, 1819, reprinted 1958, of Antonio Morga's Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas, hoping to show that the native Filipino of the Philippines had a long history before the coming of the Spaniards. He became the leader of the propaganda movement, contributing numerous articles to its newspaper La Solidaridad, published in Barcelona. Rizal's political program included integration of the Philippines as a province of Spain, representation in the Cortes, the Spanish Parliament, the replacement of Spanish friars by Filipino priests, freedom of assembly and expression, and equality of Filipinos and Spaniards before the law. Rizal returned to the Philippines in 1892. He founded a non-violent reform society, the Liga Filipina, in Manila, and was deported to Dapitan in northwest Mindanao. He remained in exile for the next 4 years. In 1896, the Katipunan, a Filipino nationalist secret society, revolted against Spain. Although he had no connection with the organization and he had no part in the insurrection, Rizal was arrested and tried for sedition by the military. Found guilty, he was publicly executed by a firing squad in Manila. His martyrdom convinced Filipinos that there was no alternative to independence from Spain. On the eve of his execution, while confined in Fort Santiago, Rizal wrote Ultimo Adios, Last Farewell, a masterpiece of 19th century Spanish verse.
Si Andres Bonifacio ay pinanganak noong November 30, 1863 sa Tondo, lungsod ng Maynila. Ang kanyang mga magulang ay sina Santiago Bonifacio at Catalina de Castro. Siya ay isang Pilipinong revolusyonaryo at bayani na nagtatag ng kataas-taasan kagalang-galangan na katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan, KKK o Katipunan. Isang lihim na lipunan na nakatuon sa pakikipaglaban sa mga Espanyol na sumakop sa Pilipinas. Siya ang isa sa mga unang nagkaroon ng malinaw na pananaw sa kung ano ang dapat na Pilipinong bansa. Siya ay kinikilalang ama ng himagsikan at Rebolusyong Pilipino at kilala sa tawag na Supremo. Ngunit hindi naging madali sa kanya ang buhay ng pumanaw ang kanyang mga magulang noong 14 na taong gulang pa lamang siya, dahilan upang matigil siya sa kanyang pag-aaral. Sa kabila ng kanyang kakulangan sa formal na edukasyon, tinuruan niya ang kanyang sarili na magbasa at magsulat sa wikang Espanyol at Tagalog, na naging dahilan upang makakuha siya ng trabaho bilang clerk messenger sa isang kumpanyang Aleman. Sinasabing, interesado si Bonifacio sa klasikong kanluraning rasyonalismo at mahilig magbasa ng mga gawa ni na Victor Hugo, Jose Rizal at Eugene Sue. Siya ay nagkaroon ng isang malalim na interes sa pagbabasa ng mga libro sa French Revolution at ang mga buhay ng mga presidente ng Estados Unidos, dahilan upang makakuha siya ng isang mahusay na pangunawa sa mga socio-historical na proseso. Ang kanyang hangarin na mabago ang kalagayan ng kanyang mga kababayan sa ilalim ng kolonyalismo ang nagbigay daan sa pagsali niya sa La Liga Filipina. Ang La Liga Filipina ay tinatag ni Jose Rizal noong July 3, 1982 sa kanyang layunin na pagkaisahin ang mga Pilipino upang makapagsimula ng reforma, maayos na edukasyon, kooperasyon at pagbuo sa bansa. 4 na araw pagkatapos ng pagkakatatag ng Liga noong July 7, 1892, itinuloy ni Andres Bonifacio ang pakikibaka at nabuo ang kataas-taasan, kagalang-galangang ang Katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan, KKK o Katipunan sa bahay ni Diodato Arellano sa Maynila. Ito ay sa kabila ng pagdakip at pagpapaalis ng mga Espanyol kay Jose Rizal, isang araw ang nakararaan. Sa isang maliit na kwartong naiilawan lamang ng isang lampara, isinagawa ang sandugo kung saan ang mga kasapi ay pumirma mula sa dugo ng kanilang mga bisig na sumisimbolo sa kapanganakan ng Katipunan. Natuklasan ng mga Espanyol ang Katipunan noong August 19, 1896. Nakatakas si Bonifacio at marami pang mga Katipunero sa Manila mula sa paghahanap ng mga Espanyol at humantong ang kanilang pagtakas patungo sa isang baryo sa Caloocan, Balintawak. Armado lamang ng bolo, sibat, paltik at ilang mga lumang Remington rifle. Nagpulong ang mga Katipunero noong August 24, 1896. Ang pulong ay isang magandang simula at dinaluhan ng mula 500 to 1,000 na katao. At ang kabanata na ito ng revolusyon ay tinatawag ngayon ang Sigaw sa Balintawak at kilala rin sa tawag na ang Sigaw ng Pugad Lawin. Sa kalagitnaan ng pulong, bumulusok sa gulo ang debate sa pagitan ng Katipunerong salungat at doon sa pabor sa pag-aalsa. Sa gitna ng kanyang galit dahil sa nangyayaring kaguluhan sa pagitan ng kanyang mga tao ay binigkas ni Bonifacio ang mga katagang ito. Kalayaan o kaalipinan? Kabuhayan o kamatayan? Mga kapatid, halina't ating kalabanin ang mga baril at kanyon upang ating makamit ang sariling kalayaan. Pagkatapos nito ay pinunit ni Bonifacio ang kanyang sedula at sumigaw ng, "Mabuhay ang Katipunan!" Ang pagsuway na ito sa mga Kastila ay naging isa sa mga pinakamainam sa araw ng kasaysayan ng Pilipinas. Noong August 30, 1896, pinamunuan ni Andres Bonifacio at Emilio Jacinto ang pagsalakay sa El Polvorin sa San Juan na siyang imbakan ng pulbura at istasyon ng tubig. Bagamat ang lugar na ito ay maiging binabantayan ng mga armado at bihasang kawal ng Espanyol, nagawa itong makuha ng mga Katipunero. Higit sa 15 na mga Katipunero ang nasawi sa laban. Ngunit ang balita ng kanilang tagumpay ay umalingaw-ngaw sa buong arkipelago. Ang bayan ng San Juan del Monte ay naging isang pambansang simbolo ng pagkakaisa, kalayaan at isang banal na lugar ng lakas ng loob ng mga Pilipino. Emilio Aguinaldo. Emilio Fami Aguinaldo Sr. ay isang revolusyonaryong Filipino, politiko at isang lider ng militar na kinikilala bilang opisyal na unang Pangulo ng Pilipinas mula 1899 hanggang 1901 at unang presidente ng isang konstitusyonal na republika sa Asia. Pinamunuan niya ang pwersa ng Pilipinas sa unang laban sa Espanya noong mga huling taon ng Rebolusyong Pilipino mula 1896 hanggang 1898 at pagkatapos ay sa digmaang Espanyol at Amerikano noong 1898 at sa wakas ay laban sa Estados Unidos sa panahon ng digmaan Pilipino at Amerikano noong September 21, 1972, ipinataw ni Marcos ang batas militar sa Pilipinas dahil na rin sa pagkilos ng mga komunista upang papagsakin ng gobyerno. Pinabilanggo ni Marcos ang mga oposisyon politiko at ang armadong pwersa ng Pilipinas ay naging armado ng rehimen. Si Marcos ay binatikos ng mga lider ng simbahan at sinalungat ng mga lider ng politika, lalo na si Benigno Aquino Jr. na ibinilanggo at ipiniit sa loob ng halos 8 taon sa mga lalawigan ng mga komunistang Maoist, bagong hukbong bayan at mga separatistang Muslim, lalo ng mga Moro National Liberation Front. Nagsagawa ng mga gerilang pagkilos upang pabagsakin ang sentral ng
ang mga Amerikano ay bumalik, ngunit sa kalaunan ay napalaya sa isang pangkalahatang amnestiya. Si Emilio Aguinaldo ay pinanganak noong March 22, 1869 sa Cavite El Viejo, kilala ngayon sa tawag na Kawit, Cavite. Ang mga magulang niya na sina Carlos Hamir Aguinaldo at Trinidad Fami Aguinaldo ay mag-asawang mestizo, Tagalog at Chino at may kaya sa buhay. Ang kanyang ama ay ang inatasang gobernadorcilyo ng komunidad munisipal ng gobernador. Sa administrasyon ng Espanyol Kolonyal, nag-aral si Aguinaldo sa Colegio de San Juan de Letran, ngunit hindi niya nagawang tapusin ito dahil sa pagsiklab ng kolera noong 1882. Si Emilio ay naging kabesa de barangay ng Binakayan, isang punong baryo ng Cavite El Viejo noong siya ay 17 taong gulang pa lamang.
Upang maiwasan ang pagiging sapilitang kawal, noong 1895 ipinatupad ang Maura Law para sa bagong tatag na lokal ng pamahalaan. Sa edad na 25, si Aguinaldo ay naging unang gobernadorcilyo kapitan municipal or Municipal Gobernador Captain ng Cavite El Viejo habang nasa business trip sa Mindoro. Noong January 1, 1896, pinakasalan niya si Hilaria del Rosario, 1877 to 1921. Ito ay ang kanyang ikatlong asawa. Sila ay may 5 anak, sina Carmen Aguinaldo Melencio, Emilio June R. Aguinaldo Jr., Maria Aguinaldo Poblete, Cristina Aguinaldo Lingo at Miguel Aguinaldo. Si Hilaria ay namatay sa sakit na ketong noong March 6, 1921. Sa edad na 44, 9 taon nang nakalipas noong July 14, 1930, pinakasalan ni Aguinaldo si Maria Goncillo sa Baraswain Church at namatay si Maria Goncillo noong Mayo 29, 1963. Isang taon bago si Aguinaldo mismo ay namayapa rin noong February 6, 1964. Si Ferdinand Edralin Marcos ay ang ika-10 Pangulo ng Republika ng Pilipinas mula December 30, 1965 hanggang February 25, 1986. Siya ay sinilang noong September 11, 1917 sa Sarat, Ilocos Norte. Si Marcos ay nag-aral sa Maynila at nag-aral ng abogasya noong mga huling taon ng 1930 sa Universidad ng Manila. Nilitis siya para sa pagpatay sa kalaban sa politika ng kanyang ama noong 1933 at napatunayang nagkasala noong November 1939. Umapela siya sa Korte Suprema ng Pilipinas at napawalang sala pagkalipas ng 1 taon. Noong ikalawang digmaang pandaigdig, siya ay naging isang opisyal sa Armadong Persa ng Pilipinas. Ang pag-angkin ni Marcos na siya ay naging isang lider sa kilusang gerilya ng Pilipinas ay isang mahalagang kadahilanan sa kanyang tagumpay sa politika. Ngunit, ipinahayag ng mga tala ng gobyerno ng Estados Unidos na siya ay may maliit na papel o hindi talaga bahagi sa mga gawaing kontra Hapon noong 1942 to 1945. Noong September 21, 1972, ipinataw ni Marcos ang batas militar sa Pilipinas dahil na rin sa pagkilos ng mga komunista upang pabagsakin ng gobyerno. Ipinabilanggo ni Marcos ang mga oposisyong politiko at ang Armadong Persa ng Pilipinas ay naging armado ng rehimen. Si Marcos ay binatikos ng mga lider ng simbahan at sinalungat ng mga lider ng politika, lalo na si Benigno Aquino Jr., na ibinilanggo at ipiniit sa loob ng halos 8 taon sa mga lalawigan ng mga komunistang Maoist, bagong hukbong bayan at mga separatistang Muslim, lalo ng mga Moro National Liberation Front. Nagsagawa ng mga gerilyang pagkilos upang pabagsakin ang sentral ng pamahalaan. Sa ilalim ng batas militar, ang Pangulo ay nagtatag ng mga pambihirang kapangyarihan, kabilang ang kakayahang isuspinde ang writ of habeas corpus. Ipinahayag ni Marcos ang katapusan ng batas militar noong January 1981. Ngunit patuloy siyang namamahala sa isang authoritarian na paraan sa pamamagitan ng iba't ibang anyo ng saligang batas. Nanalo siya sa halalan sa bagong nalikhang poste ng Pangulo noong July 1981. Noong 1983, ang kalusugan ni Marcos ay nagsimulang bumagsak at ang mga sumasalungat sa kanyang pamamahala ay dumarami. Noong August 21, 1983, bumalik sa Maynila si Benigno Aquino Jr. upang magbigay ng alternatibo laban kay Marcos at sa lalong lumalakas na New People's Army or NPA. Ngunit siya ay binaril at napatay sa pagbaba niya sa eroplano. Ang pagpatay ay nakita bilang gawain ng pamahalaan at naging sanhi ng malawakang protesta laban sa gobyerno. Isang independenteng komisyon na hinirang ni Marcos ang nagpatibay noong 1984 na mga matataas na opisyal ng militar ang responsable sa pagpatay kay Aquino. Si Maria Corazon Coangco Aquino na lalong mas kilala sa palayaw na Cory ang ika-11 Pangulo ng Pilipinas ng Republika ng Pilipinas at kauna-unahang naging babae ng Pangulo ng Pilipinas mula February 25, 1986 hanggang June 30, 1992. Ipinanganak siya noong January 25, 1933 sa Tarlac ng kanyang mga magulang na sina Jose Coangco Sr. at Demetria Sumulong. Nagtapos siya sa isang paaralang Katoliko na para lamang sa mga kababaihan bago pinalad na makapag-aral sa Estados Unidos at nakapagtapos ng may degree sa wikang Pranses at matematika sa New York's Mountain St. Vincent College. Nagbalik siya ng Pilipinas noong 1953 upang kumuha ng kursong abogasya. Doon niya nakilala ang kabiyak na si Benigno Aquino Jr. o Ninoy, ang pinaslang na lider ng oposisyon noong panahon ni dating Pangulong Ferdinand E. Marcos. Nilulok siya sa pamamagitan ng isang mapayapang revolusyon sa EDSA noong February 25, 1986 at ibinalik niya ang demokrasya sa bansa. Siya ay kilala rin bilang ina ng artistang si Chris Aquino. Kilalang angka ng Aquino sa politika. Nahalal bilang mayor si Benigno Aquino Jr. o kilala sa tawag na Ninoy 1 taon matapos ang kanilang pag-iisang dibdib. Naging pinakabata rin itong gobernador hanggang sa maging senador. Taong 1983 ng buwan ng August nang mapagpasyang bumalik sa Pilipinas ng kanyang asawang si Benigno Aquino Jr. upang tulungan ang mga taong hindi sang-ayon sa pamumuno ng dating Pangulong Ferdinand E. Marcos. Sa kasamaang palad ay pinapatay siya matapos makalapag sa paliparan ng eroplanong kanyang sinasakyan. Taong 1985 nang mapili siya ng National Press Club ng Maynila upang tumakbo bilang Pangulo ng Pilipinas. Sa kasamaang palad ay hindi na natuklasan pa ang kinahihinatnan ng eleksyong pampanguluhan matapos ang isang mapayapang revolusyon, unang revolusyon sa EDSA noong February 25, 1986 at mapatalsik sa posisyon ang dating Pangulong Ferdinand E. Marcos ay nailagak siyang Pangulo ng Pilipinas. Halos 7 pag-aaklas ang naganap upang siya'y mapatalsik ang dinanas ng kanyang liderato. Ang ilan pa sa mga ito ay pinamunuan ng mga taong nagluklok sa kanya sa pwesto. Taong 1991 nang maglabas ng kasulatang nagpapahintulot sa kanyang manatili sa pwesto hanggang June 30, 1992. Pinalitan siya ni Fidel V. Ramos bilang Pangulo noong matapos ang kanyang termino. Hindi nagtagal ay naiulat ang kawalanggana nito sa pagkain. Hindi gumagaling na pag-ubo at ang kapansin-pansing pagbaba ng timbang na naging sanhi ng kanyang pagkapayat. Ito ang nagbunsod sa magkakapatid na Aquino na ipailalim sa malawakang pagsusuri ang kalusugan ng kanilang ina. At dito natuklasan ang pagkakaroon niya ng kanser sa kolon. Noong July 2009, iniulat na si Aquino ay nasa seryosong kalagayan. Nagdurusa sa pagkawala ng gana at nasa Makati Medical Center. Sa kalaunan ay inihayag na nagpasya si Aquino at ang kanyang pamilya na itigil ang chemotherapy at iba pang mga medical na intervention para sa kanya. Namatay si Aquino sa Makati Medical Center noong 3:18 ng umaga noong August 1, 2009 dahil sa cardiorespiratory arrest. Siya ay 76 na taong gulang.